Hello everyone, this is Tim, and this video is going to talk about how to get all of your player characters' goals and wishes and wants into your campaign. How do you take all of these separate threads and combine them into a rope? How do you make some sort of cohesive game out of these chaotic ideas that sort of launch themselves at each other? Well, there's something interesting about that. A lot of times GMs put that on their shoulders. And I'm going to try to tell you that you don't always have to do that. If you have a good group of players, and you talk amongst yourselves, maybe as a group, through email, a forum, some sort of way of communicating, if you can get them all to talk about their goals for their characters, what kind of characters they want to play, what they want to see happen in the campaign. And this all depends on what kind of genre you're running, and they need to know that. What kind of flavors and themes is your game going to have? Can you throw out any ideas? Can you give them little tidbits about where the campaign should go or might go? It might go someplace completely different, but at least to start, so they have some idea for how to make their characters. So let's say that character and player A wants to be this bold, brash, brave person, and they want lots of victories in the field of battle. They want honors and accolades from on high bestowed upon them. And so you have that kind of thing going on. And then you might have this character that's designed to be more bookish and quiet and intellectual, and yet have other aspects as well, like maybe they are difficult, they are defensive, maybe they are looking for other things, maybe they want a wife and a kid, So you have this one character who, is probably going to charge into battle, sign up for any risky duty, and you have this other character that's more reserved. And, then you add 4 more characters in the mix, and, as a GM, you might grab the roots of your hair and just start tugging. How are you going to combine all these elements? Well, if you get them all together, and I always recommend trying to generate characters as a group, just to try to get them together so that they can hash that stuff out. Instead of putting on your shoulders as a GM, talk to your players. Okay, you guys need to figure this out. Why are you together? Why are you together and not killing each other? Especially if there's very difficult concepts that shouldn't go together unless there's some sort of tweak or there's some sort of understanding between those characters. Maybe that understanding is only temporary. Maybe a knight will travel with a necromancer only so far. There's only so much they'll put up with before things get into trouble. And, you have to watch out for campaigns like that, because they can end badly, in quotes, maybe end a way you don't really expect. But you can have temporary reasons to be in a group, and maybe after those reasons are done, that character rides off into the sunset, or dies, or some other result, and another character can come in that you play as a player. So, don't always take it on your shoulders. Try to get the players to work amongst themselves, talk to each other, and figure out why in the hell this group of people that have all these different strengths are working together. Maybe that's it. Maybe they just realize that while they are traveling with this distasteful person, maybe their code of honor won't let them do these things that need to be done. Maybe the ends justify the means. Maybe there's other reasons that you need to think about. And as a GM, you can coerce them, you can try to get them to work together, just set up the space to let it happen. Maybe tell your players, you can think about character ideas, but please don't really delve into it until we're together as a group so that we can see what direction we want to take the campaign. Especially if you're a GM that likes player feedback, that wants to hear their goals, that wants to hear what kind of things they want to do as a character, so you can weave those things into the game. Have it be an option. If you have someone who has 18 pages of backstory and you have a guy that has a sentence and is going to work on it as things go, you need to incorporate that as well. All right, incredibly detailed backstory guy. these are like the main points I'm getting from your story. Okay, I'll keep that in the back of my head. And maybe the character and player with only one sentence is willing to sort of roll with the punches to see what happens, and maybe through flashbacks or just things that come about through dialogue, that background gets filled in later. Just two different ways of doing it. So if you're a player and you're part of a group, don't necessarily leave it on the GM's shoulders to figure out how you guys all get along, why you're together. I've noticed that in most campaigns, that is usually left up to the GM. If you're in a group, don't be afraid to break out of that mold as a player and say things like, hey, I got this idea, is there any way we can get together like this? Maybe we all were thought to be dead and we all woke up in the morgue, or maybe we were all drugged and we're in an infirmary, or some leech or a medicinal person, a witch's hut. Maybe that could be a cool start to a campaign. Think amongst yourselves. As players, you have a lot more free time to work with. GMs tend to have a lot of that stuff filled up. Any free time they have, they're either learning or making their own setting, they're coming up with NPCs, they're thinking about possible plots or lack thereof, maybe just NPC goals that are going on. So GMs have a lot of balls in the air. So as a player, don't be afraid to take more, just the reins a little bit, I guess, and to help them out. I know I always love when players are excited to play, offer to help out in any way, shape, manner, or form. If they want to help with the setting, all these things. So it is kind of a struggle sometimes, though. This is the main point that I'm trying to get to. If there's too much chaos, too many different directions that the characters and players want to go, that can be very hard to run a game. My Changeling the Lost game, the only one I only ran it once, was very much like that. All of the characters had very different ideas, very different goals in mind, and they came from different places too, almost different worldviews. And at times it felt like I was running 6 or 7 solo adventures. As a GM, you don't want to be put in that spot. That is very tough to try to run a game like that. Especially since, if you're focusing on one person, the rest of them aren't doing anything. And some groups have more patience for that. I think most want more spotlight time, so maybe invite less people. Or if you have a large group, maybe split that group in 2. Maybe have one of the players step up and offer a run a game. I'm starting to ramble a little bit here, but do the best you can. And if you're stumped as a GM, talk to your players about that. You can say, okay, this guy here and this character here, something either needs to give, some backstory needs to get revised, or maybe you need to even come up with a different type of character, a different character concept that fits in with the majority of the rest of them. Especially if you're playing in a sort of party mentality game like Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, etc. Do the best you can, get any help you can from the players, and hopefully together you guys can craft an interesting and worthwhile game that can last a long time. I think that's what most of us like, or at least that's what I want. So that's pretty much it. I'll talk to you guys later.